All right, I'll kick this off. I'm going to come out swinging for the fences, and this might be a hilarious pick for listeners that are out there. I'm going to pick the Jacksonville Jaguars to win this division. And here's why.
Wow.
I think Houston, even though with their overall talent increase, getting Stephon Diggs, getting Joe Mixon, getting Danielle Hunter, adding that with CJ Stroud, adding that with Tank Dell, their schedule's tough. It's a tough one. If I just look at their schedule here real quick, I know it's pretty brutal.
Yeah,
So they start off, So they start off home against the Bears. Start off at Indy, not an easy opening week. Home for the Bears, at Vikings, home Jaguars, home Bills, at Pats. But here's where it gets kind of tough. They go at Green Bay, home Indy, at Jets, home Lions, at Cowboys, home Tennessee, at Jacksonville. But they play the Dolphins, the Chiefs, the Ravens. Ugh, not a great schedule. They're going to be battle tested, but I think they go 10-7, right? I think they go 10-7, and I think they get a wild card spot. I have Jacksonville because I think their offensive line, I think the signing of Mitch Morse for them is huge because now you put a Pro Bowl center with Trevor Lawrence that's automatically going to shore up that offensive line. That offensive line has always gotten Trevor Lawrence beat up. I think Mitch Morse definitely rectifies that. And I think for as much of a fantasy bust as he's been over the past 3 or 4 years, I think Christian Kirk has a good year because Gabe Davis takes some of the heat off of him. And I think Gabe Davis is another huge weapon for Trevor Lawrence.
And Brian Thomas.
Yeah, and Brian Thomas too.
Don't sleep on him.
Look, and I think, I like the Darnell Savage pick because I watched him in Green Bay. I think he's going to help them on the defensive backfield a bit. Look, their defense hasn't been great, but I think their offense is going to have enough firepower too. And look, Travis Etienne is going to be a very, very good back. I'm just looking at with the out of conference, in conference, Texans 2 extra games are at Cowboys and at Chiefs. Jaguars extra 2 games are at Raiders and at Bears. So just strength of schedule wise, I think Jacksonville gets to 11-6. I think the Texans go to 10-7. And to round out the rest of the division, I think Colts go 9-8 again. I don't know. I think Anthony Richardson is a question mark. Their pass rush is young. I think it'll be better. I know they signed a lot of their own guys in the offseason. I don't know if that's going to be able to keep up with Jacksonville or Houston as far as a skill set position.
Right.
And I think the Titans are maybe 1 year away. They went crazy in free agency. They got Calvin Ridley. I think Will Levis is going to be a guy, but I think they're 1 year away. I think they're 1 year away. New coach, new front office. So I have Jacksonville winning the division. I think the Texans are going to be battle tested, but I think due to strength of schedule and the upgrade at the offensive line at the pivot point with Mitch Morse, and then with Gabe Davis having another receiver option with Etienne, I think they eke out a division win.
Yeah, so I actually we're close. We're very close. I've been hyping up the Houston train since last week, and I believe the Texans are battle tested. I think DeMeco Ryans has the right culture building in that locker room on and off the field. I think CJ Stroud is going to make strides, and obviously you got Stephon Diggs in the mix and Joe Mixon and Nico Collins and Tate Dell, as you mentioned. Dalton Schultz too for the tight end position. Real good red zone target for CJ Stroud. But defensively too, Danielle Hunter, right? So adding Danielle Hunter to that core that he's already built a strong defense around, I got to give Houston, I get it. It's a very tough gauntlet schedule, but I got Houston at 11-6. I think Jaguars at 10-7. I got Colts at 9-8. And I like the Titans at 8-9. And if I may break down the Titans very quickly, the Titans are a team that could surprise a lot of people, right? They have the talent. They have Calvin Ridley. They got DeAndre Hopkins. They got Tyler Boyd on the outside. And they got Toby Pollard in the backfield. But I think where they're going to fall short is their defense. I don't think they're going to have trouble scoring a lot of points. I really think that they can hang offensively. It's just defensively, I just can't trust what they've done. It seems like they really didn't focus that much on the defensive side during free agency, and I think that's going to come back and bite them. So I think the Texans are built to last in the AFC South. They're building a true Super Bowl contender. Jaguars are right there, but it's always for me. I actually put this in perspective. I trust CJ Stroud in late games and D'Amico Ryans to calm his guys down and give CJ Stroud the leadership qualities and run an offense and keep them in games versus Trevor Lawrence decision making in late games. And I
That's
think
fair.
that's going to
Yep.
play a major factor this year. Trevor Lawrence is without, another piece in Calvin Ridley, right? I get it. They added, Gabe Davis, but what did Gabe Davis really do in Buffalo? It might be
I don't think he
just
got the targets. I don't think he ever got the targets that Diggs did.
right.
So that's
No.
the only thing. It is a question mark. I'll give you that. 100%.
It's just exactly. It's just a question mark for me. Who knows? He could turn into Mike Evans, like Mike Evans was very quiet in his first year, and then we saw what happened, in Tampa Bay for the rest of the years, Hall of Fame career, arguably. But Brian Thomas for me with Jacksonville is the guy that everyone should be picking up in fantasy. He's going to get looks, and who knows? He might become like Trevor Lawrence security blanket when he's under arrest. So I can't be confident in saying that the Jaguars are going to win the division because Trevor Lawrence has done it multiple times where he's in games and then somehow it pukes all over himself because of decision making, wild throws, what have you. And their defense I can't trust. So that's why I'm going Houston taking that division.
Yeah, and I all of your points are valid. I think Doug Peterson he's considered a good coach because of what he did against the Pats in the Super Bowl. But if you take a look at the rest of his season records, not great. And that Philly team really came out of nowhere as well. So it was kind of a Cinderella story, backup quarterback. Like it's a little fluky, even though, look, you won a Super Bowl, you got a ring, all power to you, and all power to Nick Foles and his big dick. But all your points are valid. I think schedule, and I think they were smart, kind of an oxymoron, the Jaguars being smart. But I think Mitch Morse is a huge get. And I think that they've never really had a good offensive line. I think he shores it up. And look, I think their schedule. Look, the Texans have to run a gauntlet. So I just think, but again, it's close. Okay, NFC East. We don't have to spend too much time on this because I feel like we have the same here. Washington, almost our words. 4-13. They missed the playoffs last year. 1-7 at home, 3-6 on the road. Plus minus 6.5 wins. 13th easiest schedule in the NFL. Point differential last year, minus 189. Dallas Cowboys made the playoffs. Got smoked at home by the Green Bay Packers, which was absolutely glorious. Loved every second of that.
Great game.
Fantastic game. They were 8-0 at home, but 4-5 on the road. Plus minus win total, 10.5 wins. 11th hardest schedule in the NFL. Point differential last year was plus 194. Philadelphia Eagles made the playoffs. Started off, I think, maybe 10-1, and then shit the bed down the stretch. 6-2 at home, 5-4 on the road. Plus minus total, 10.5 wins. 9th easiest schedule in the NFL, and their point differential at 11-6. Their point differential was plus 5 last year. That's how garbage they were down the stretch.
Horrible.
And by the way, their losses down the stretch were like blowouts. They weren't even close. So that probably leads to the point differential there. And then the Daniel Jones creepy eye led New York Giants, 6-11, missed the playoffs last year, 4-4 at home, 2-7 on the road, plus minus win total 6.5 for this year. They have the 12th hardest schedule, and their point differential last year was minus 141. I feel like we have the same here, but you lead off.
Yeah, so the NFC East is, arguably one of the toughest conferences, I think, going into this season. We all know what the Cowboys are capable of: Eagles, Commanders, Giants, right? So to start off, I had the Cowboys. They're dominant in the regular season. Everybody can talk about what they do in the postseason, but they show up in the regular season. They've probably averaged around 12 wins, like going into the past 3 seasons. Eagles are 11-6, Commanders are 10-7, and the Giants are 6-11. I want to emphasize this because I think it's really, really important. The Eagles are a force in the NFL. They will be this year. Now, I think what's going to be absolutely important, and I think the Philadelphia Eagles got to take this as much as they can. They've got to keep Saquon healthy. If Saquon Barkley can stay healthy, he becomes the X factor in order for them to get to the Super Bowl. And I think defensively, they are always a juggernaut. Like they're always a freaking beast of a defense. And they're in a tough division this year. I think Jay Dale's is actually going to have a pretty good year. I think a lot of people are just kind of seeing it as a rookie, type of year. No, I think he's going to be pretty good. I think he might be the most legit quarterback in that draft outside of Caleb Williams. But if you look at the Cowboys and the way that they're built, offensively, defensively, they're just scary. And obviously, Ezekiel Elliott's going to have to be on his game in order for them to stay afloat. And Brandon Cooks is going to have to be the most reliable number 2 wide receiver for Dak Prescott in the league. He's going to have to be that bona fide number 2 for CeeDee Lamb to get open. Who knows about the contract talks, right? But Micah Parsons, just they have too much defensively. Diggs, they just know exactly how to beat their opponents in the regular season. That's not a question. Philly, I feel like Philly, like I said, as long as Saquon can absolutely stay healthy, they are the most aggressive, athletic, like skillful team in the NFL by a mile. And Devontae Smith is going to allow A.J. Brown to get more and more open and Saquon out of the backfield. And you got Dallas Goedert moving in rotation. And you got good offensive line. I understand, Jason Kelce retired, but they'll shore up that offensive line midseason, and you'll see exactly what that team's made of. And that's why last week I picked Jalen Hurts to win MVP, is because he's going to have an MVP type of season where he's going to throw 4,000, passing yards. He's going to have 30 plus touchdowns, and he's going to have under 10 interceptions. He's just a guy that's going to have a standout MVP type of year. And again, going to Commanders, Jay Daniels, obviously rookie year, as I mentioned, okay talent on the team, not the best. Hopefully Brian Robinson can complement him well with a decent offensive line. They aren't the worst in the league. Hopefully they can makeshift some of their pieces around. Defense, obviously, we know what they lost last year in Fuller and Young, so they have to be sure to shore that up. But I like myself with the Cowboys and the Giants. We saw it in Hard Knocks. Brian Dable has doubts too. You saw it in Hard Knocks where he's just like, yeah, I'm content riding him. We'll keep going with him, when he's absolutely not. He's just trying to be the yes man and the puppet that they want. And they gave him a $40 million per year type of contract for what, $160 million over the course of 4 years.
Oh, well, they can get out of it after this year.
They can, which is great job by Shane for doing that. But when it's all said and done, Malik Neighbors is going to have a hell of a rookie year. But again, the Giants, for me, no way, 6-11. I don't even know if they get to 6. They might get to 5-12. But yeah, sorry.